Okay, this is where the rubber meets the road, and you're going to experience an IFS session. Like I've mentioned before, I'm only using this as a coaching tool. This is not a therapy session. And hopefully, by having some sense of what an IFS session would look like, you'll be able to apply it to yourself as well. One word of caution: if you're dealing with very intense emotions, if you have exiles that will likely rebel against the entire system and have a lot of emotion to vent, um, I would encourage you to express or deal with these extreme exiles with an IFS facilitator or an IFS therapist or any therapist, but I wouldn't recommend you venturing too deep with exiles that you may not know how to handle. In general, from what I've seen, so there are extreme cases that I may not be able to support you with, but from what I've noticed and with my own experience dealing with my exiles, with my parts in general, when I usually make a request, first of all, I urge my parts to be as expressive as possible. I welcome their emotions, I welcome their views. I want to create an environment where everyone is accepted and supported. I remind my parts, which we'll do in a bit, like to remind your parts that everyone is welcome, and even if they do have a reaction, a response to another part, each part will get their turn in speaking and expressing themselves. But the request I make to my parts is, while I want to listen to you, while I want to accept everything you want to express, I may not have the emotional capacity to handle intense emotions. So please be considerate of my capacity in handling emotions. Try to express yourself, but not through intense emotion. And then give me a bit of space for me to absorb everything that you're feeling, everything that you want to express. Because with that, when the part feels like there is room to be heard, they don't need to shout so loud. The emotions do not need to be that intense, but be honest and genuine with your parts, that you're willing to listen to them. You will not judge their emotional reactions. You will not judge the root thoughts behind their emotions, behind their reactions. Create a space where your parts are safe to express themselves, where again there is a chance to respond or to voice opinions regarding other parts as well, including the self. And the self is not hurt by any honesty. It's not hurt by any expression of emotions or opinions. This is where you will feel grounded when the self is in control, and at the same time you want to invite your parts not to be triggered by the opinions of other parts. Let the parts feel comfortable expressing themselves, and also feel comfortable receiving feedback from other parts. Now, we'll begin by identifying an emotion or a goal or a problem that you want to address. Whatever feels strongest to you, whatever is either top of mind, something that you ruminate over a lot, a recurring thought. Usually, a recurring thought comes with an emotional charge. That's why it is vying for your attention. It's coming back again and again, and that's the emotion that's at play in order to get your attention towards that thought, whether it's a concern, a goal, and so on. So try to identify something that's top of mind. It could be a goal, it could be a problem, or an emotion that you're currently wrestling with, and you want to resolve this experience of dealing with that emotion. I want you to identify if there is a place in your body where you're experiencing that emotion, or there's a bit of tension whenever you mention or you recall the thought or emotion. It could also be around your body, not necessarily within your body, and it's okay not to experience any sensation within the body or around the body. Part of the process of IFS and getting to know your parts, getting to work with your parts, treating your feelings as your friends, is that initially there might be a sense of numbness. You've kind of silenced some parts, also the exiles, for a long time, that they either don't feel comfortable expressing themselves, or there's a part-to-part interaction of one part suppressing another part. So give it a bit of time and allow the parts to express themselves when they're ready. If you do not feel any sensation, this is fine. If you do feel something, try to identify it. And so identify in the body, connect with your body. But also, not only do you want to identify it within your body, if you can sense a visual of what the part looks like, and maybe proximity to you, because it might be, you might experience a thought of your younger self, and it could be your 5-year-old self, it could be a teenage self. There are many possible persons that the parts can be. If you're able to visualize it, this is great. If you're not, that's fine as well. What we want to do is we want to identify the parts and invite them to come and speak. And you'll be facilitating, so you won't let everyone speak at the same time. You will sequence whoever wishes to speak and then facilitate that process. This feeling, I've identified this feeling, it belongs to this part, and I've also identified this feeling in response to that other feeling, and that belongs to another part, but I will first direct my attention to the first part, listen to it, and then move on to the second part. So try to get a sense of who is present in terms of parts. It could be a single part, it could be multiple parts, and keep either the emotion, the goal, or the problem in mind. What is the issue that is being addressed, or you're presenting to your parts in order to have them express their views and express their emotions. Give them space, there's no need to rush. And then try to invite the parts. One thing I forgot to mention, and I think it's worth mentioning, is that even watching this video, my involvement in your interaction with your parts needs to have the parts' permission. The parts are acting as your protectors. They're playing a vital role in your well-being, and some of them might be resistant to someone external to your system interfering with that system. They might feel like they're doing a good job, or they might feel like they're being sidelined if you're working directly with me. But I want to encourage them or invite them to accept my participation in this process, and at the same time to reassure them that I'm not taking over the role that they're playing. But also, while I appreciate the role that they've been playing, and I encourage you to express your own appreciation towards them, they might want to change the role that they've been playing. They might have been protecting you for a very long time. They might be tired. They might have been resorting to a certain emotion that they no longer wish to carry. There's a burden they no longer wish to carry. So I would invite them to also consider changing the role that they've come to play. But let's go. As long as you feel a sense of acceptance within you, that I participate in your healing process, or in the work that you're going to be doing with your parts, you can continue with the video. If not, if you sense a bit of resistance, I encourage you now to sit with it a bit. And if it doesn't go away, you feel like, no, there's a resistance that's insisting on staying, insisting on sabotaging the session, it has every right to do so. And again, it is playing a positive role in your life. It intends to play a positive role in your life. So we express appreciation, and we seek understanding with curiosity on what could be the issue that it's not accepting. Is it something that I've said before? Is it something that I've not earned its trust? What might be causing the resistance? And as you explore it, begin that conversation with the part. If there is no resistance, we can go back to the issue that you had in mind in order for us to work through the issue while having the parts in attendance. Try to get a sense of the parts. What are you feeling? What do they want to express? What are the underlying thoughts behind the emotion, behind the approach they're taking to address the issue at hand? It's possible, in the same way that we can be mistaken when trying to understand our thoughts and emotions, it's possible that the part is also mistaken in what they've identified as the root cause of their pain, the root cause of why they're resorting to the emotion that they're resorting to. And so approach the part with curiosity, approach the part with the desire to understand them and to support them in understanding themselves as well. So if you feel the answer that you were given, the answer that is coming up for you is not that convincing, approach it with curiosity and also acceptance. Because if the part, there's a lesson in parenting that if a child lies a lot, it's likely because they've been punished too severely. So we cannot blame the child for lying. We can revise our approach to parenting, because otherwise the natural thing for the child to do is to resort to lying in order to protect themselves. So it's not the child that's at fault, it's the parent that's at fault for losing the child's trust and not creating a safe environment for them to be honest with the parent. So the same thing with the part. It's possible that the part has experienced or has lost trust, whether it's in the self or lost trust in the other parts that are in attendance, that are within you. Maybe the exiles don't want to speak out because they've been kind of abused by other parts. You want to reiterate and confirm the importance of being honest, and everyone will benefit as a result. All the parts will benefit when every part is able to be honest. So that's the kind of environment you want to create within yourself. Try to understand the thinking, the rationale, the understanding, the assumptions behind the emotion that you're experiencing. And is there anything that you can offer as an alternative to how the part is thinking? Is it possible that you acknowledge where the thoughts came from? What is the incident that may have led the part to believe what it's currently believing? And if you disagree with the part's assumptions, it's okay to respectfully express your own thoughts and have the part express its response as well. The thing is, when we're dealing with our parts, it's not that we want to avoid honesty or we want to avoid uh, uncomfortable or difficult conversations. When we accept all conversation, when we accept honesty in general, the uncomfortable conversations no longer become uncomfortable, because whatever comes up is accepted, whatever comes up is allowed. No one's going to get hurt by the truth, by the honesty that's demonstrated through the session. Try to notice any sensations in the body, and whatever thoughts come up, give them your attention. If you're loving towards your parts, they have to feel the love. Tough love, although it might come with good intention, as long as it's not loving, it's hard for your parts to express themselves in that presence, in the presence of tough love. So try to show an overflow of love. If the part feels like it needs a hug, if the part feels like it needs to feel your presence, the presence of the self, the presence of other parts. If there was conflict between parts and they need resolution, you can imagine, or you can give the space for one part to show affection, to show love to another part, or the self is able to be there for the part and to show love. Give yourself that space for the expression of love between the parts and between the self and the parts. What was the intensity of emotion like when we first started the session, and what's the intensity of emotion like now? Is there anything else that you would like to resolve within that emotion or within that issue? And it's okay to pause the video if you want to do several iterations around the same issue. You want to have more back and forth with the same part. Give the parts the space to express themselves. And if you don't have time, if you actually are running late for another commitment, just make an honest request to your parts that you will carry the conversation at another time. You will continue to do this work at another time. And like I've said, the parts are usually extremely accommodating. They don't want to hurt you, they don't want to upset you, they don't want to get in your way. They want to protect you, they want to ensure your survival, they want to see you succeed, but at times they just go about it in a way that's not as productive as can be. And when you allow for that honesty between the parts, between the self and the parts, you create that environment where all the parts are collaborative, and they may even suggest ways for you to advance in life. But give it a bit of time. Try to notice if the emotion remains, whether there's a negative charge, a negative emotion that's present and you wish to resolve. Give it a bit of space. Invite the part to express itself. If a part has finished expressing itself, try to notice if there are other parts that wish to speak. And as facilitator, make sure you're being respectful, you're being fair to the parts that are present. Maybe invite the possibility of some parts not being present, especially exiles, if they have not yet, or you have not gained their trust yet, and so they do not wish to speak up. Maybe they're not sort of physically present in this gathering, physically, mentally, like the visual that you have in mind. They're not present for whatever reason. You just want to make a call out internally and say, I'm willing to accept any part that may come up, any part that has something to express, you're free to do so. I know not all issues can be resolved within a single session, and this is something you can also reiterate to your parts. You're willing to listen to any issue that may come up. You're willing to revisit any issue, and whatever you're not able to address in this session, you will address in future sessions. And not only do you want to remove any emotional obstacles in your way, and like I said, they're put in your way because they want to protect you in some way. But instead of any part standing in your way, invite them or recruit them to support you in the goal that you're seeking. So like I mentioned, if you want to start a business, for example, if you want to have a conversation with your partner, if you want to pursue a potential partner, whatever you want to pursue and you feel like you're being inhibited, you're being apprehensive, invite the part to play a different role and be able to support you in the pursuit of the goal instead of emphasizing on the risks of failure. You might also want to invite other parts to step in and lend support to a struggling part. It's possible that one part is fearful, one part is anxious, another part is angry, but that anger is expressing strength and the willingness or the ability to support you, to protect you, to defend you. So give some reassurance to an anxious part, to a fearful part, that you have other parts that can participate and can support you on your quest and in the goal that you wish to pursue. What's the intensity of emotion like now? Do you experience any positive emotions coming up as well? Invite the possibility of positive emotions coming up rather than just coming to baseline from negative emotions. You want to encourage yourself to adopt more positive emotions. So it could be inviting in joy, inviting in happiness, inviting in excitement, and whatever positive emotion you want to experience more of, invite it as well to come up. Encourage your parts, and you don't need to force this. It does not need to be toxic positivity of we have to be positive, but if we're able to express joy, if we want to express joy, why don't we experience it? Why don't we express it? Invite them to experience these positive emotions instead of forcing those emotions or forcing those expectations. And if they do feel comfortable, they will likely be able to express those positive emotions. At times, and I'll mention this at a later video, at times we cling to negativity because we feel it ensures our survival. Positivity feels like vulnerability because we're not being aware of potential threats and potential risks to our lives, to our well-being. So maybe the parts still don't feel like they can trust being positive, especially when they've been in survival mode for a long time. But give them the space and allow them, without any expectation, to express themselves the way they want to, and then invite them to amplify or to lean towards more positive, more joyful emotions that you can all experience. Remember that these conversations you can have at any time. Your parts are always accessible to you. If you feel like there might be an issue that's a bit too intense, give yourself the space, whether like the emotional or physical space, to sit with your parts and to work with them. and you can always repeat these conversations. You can always tap into your inner world and have conversations with your parts. Try to connect as much as possible to the self so that it's in control and that it's facilitating the conversations between the parts instead of a single part taking over. You can always come back to this video if you feel the need for some structure within a session. Otherwise, feel free to communicate with your parts at any time. I'll see you in the next video.